catches, puts up a three. Won't go. Rebound box.
Head over in this direction. Gone to three.
Tie game with 5 seconds remaining. The impossible has happened.
Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
Anthony for three. Puts it in. Bridges. Oh my God. What? Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the rejection. Curry way downtown. Bang! Bang!
Hey, yo, Rello.
Back to Campus Corner. We got a very special guest on today. He's currently the DJ to my favorite rapper, Lil Skies. You've been doing that for a while now. He's also the host of the Connected Sound podcast, founder of the Connected Clothing brand and Connected Music. Guys, help me in welcoming DJ Rello to the show. Rello, thanks for joining me, man. How's it been?
Everything's good, man. I appreciate you having me on, man. I definitely am a fan of the show. You put me on probably through Snapchat, maybe.
Yeah.
I think that's how I found out about the show. Started tuning in. I was a fan. I was like, man, let's do it. Let's get on. Let's make it happen.
Dude, that's awesome. Because I remember adding you on Snap probably a couple of years ago, and then I was like, oh my God, like this guy's DJ, like added me on Snap, and then it's so surreal to see you following the show and things like that. So I know you host a podcast like I just mentioned. Yeah. Have you ever been like featured on a podcast like outside the PA area?
About an hour away, maybe in Virginia. Virginia is about an hour away from me. I had some friends of mine. It was a podcast called the Iron Skillet podcast. I went down there and I did one there, but that's probably about the furthest. I don't even really consider that far, honestly. I still consider that local to me, but that's probably the furthest I've done. I've never done a podcast remotely like we are now, so that's dope to me.
Yeah, no, it sucks. Like I told you, over text and stuff that I'm kind of a little bit further away. I'm still trying to do like in-person things. Like I know you saw the episode with Tim Sinclair, the Bulls PA announcer. He's in Chicago, so it's like I'm not gonna go fly out there. Like I don't have so much of those budgets yet, but hopefully down the line, that's where it brings me. But
yeah, for sure, that's the goal, right?
For sure, man. Going along the lines of you and like starting off your career, where does the name Rello come from? Like, is that like a part of like your real name, or is that kind of like a nickname you always were called?
Oh man, I had a bunch of nicknames. But I would say Rello. My real name is Darrell, so it's definitely a play on that. Just probably growing up playing basketball, one of my close friends, he always said I kind of played like Carmelo a little bit. So he would just call me Rello instead of Darrell. He would call me Rello, and it kind of just stuck with me. Only really he called me that. So when it came down to like me really like taking DJing seriously, I was trying to figure out a name, and I'm like, I'm just gonna stick to something close to my name, and that just stuck like that. And plus I'm a pretty mellow type of guy, so it kind of like just all just tied in together and worked.
Dude, that's crazy to hear, because Carmelo's actually like my favorite player, like ever. Like my all-time favorite player. New York Knicks fan, born and raised. Like that's a cool backstory to hear. Did you grow? So you grew up in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Pennsylvania, but I'm like on the southern part of Pennsylvania. I'm like right on the border of Maryland. Okay. So a lot of things that I'm close to, and a lot of like sporting teams I'm close to are Maryland teams. And just growing up, I spent a lot of time in Maryland, as much time as I did in PA a lot of times. So I just came close to like Maryland type of artists, Maryland ball players. That's why I really liked Carmelo, because he was from nearby, from Baltimore. Right. That's only about an hour and 15 minutes away from me. So I kind of just liked, people from Maryland. I kind of stuck with that. Just because, like I said, I'm on the border of Maryland, so I'm from PA, but I spent a lot of time in Maryland.
All right, that's dope. Like I said, that's a cool backstory on how everything kind of started. Going back to what I said recently about like, the podcast you just started up not too long ago. I know you got a ton of projects going on now. But when you're not on the road and you're doing all these things, like what are you doing? Like, I guess like in your free time, like, like now or like things like that.
I'm in the studio, man. I'm in the studio. I spend a lot of time in the studio. When I'm not in the studio, when I go home, I like to cook. Honestly, I like to cook. I don't like to eat out too much. Yeah, I like to cook a lot. Just because I'm actually a picky eater, but when I'm the one cooking, it's like nothing. You know what I mean? I get to make it how I like to make it. So that's kind of like my pastime. When people send me music and stuff like that, like, hey, I want you to listen to this song, I want you to listen to this beat, I want you to listen to this loop on the song. I'll probably be cooking when I listen to it, because it's just like my free time. I got like an hour or so, however long, to chill, vibe out, let's put my headphones on, listen to music. So I would say that would probably be the most thing I do a lot outside of the studio. Other than that, most of my time is spent in the studio or a club or something like that, DJing a venue.
Yeah. No, not like me. I'm not no cook, but I mean, like, I'm like you. Like, I'm always grinding. I'm always trying to figure out more ways to like outlet myself, and like the broadcasting sense, like you've seen on like Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. But now that we know a little bit about like your backstory and everything like that, diving more into your career. I saw like on your website, you got a little bit of a write up on like where you were introduced to like music, early 2000s and things like that. So you said you were from Pennsylvania, but who were some people you looked up to in a way at the time that kind of drove you to that like music passion and like DJing passion and stuff like that?
I would say I got two cousins in my family that are big DJs. So I watch them a lot. And I would say, as far as like bigger names, I didn't really have like too many like DJ idols or anything like that. I just really liked music. Yeah. And I knew that I wasn't an artist myself. I'm not rapping or singing on anything. So I knew that wasn't my outlet. I knew I could make beats and stuff like that. So I knew that DJing would help me have more of an outlet within the music industry. And I knew a lot of music. A lot of times I would, even before I started really taking DJing seriously, I would go to a party, and, when I was a little younger, we had, hella iPods, excuse me, a lot of iPods. And I would just go to parties and play music off my iPod. And I'm like, I guess I'm the DJ. You know what I'm saying? I just came to party, but I want good music to be played. Everybody else wants good music to be played. So they would leave it up to me, and I would, I guess, be the DJ without actually having any equipment. But that's how I would say that's how it started. At least early on, how it started for me, like starting to DJ. But I didn't have anybody that I really like looked up to. I just liked music and just wanted to play good music. Yeah.
So I guess like, who like some of like the artists that you used to listen to that gave you that kind of not like except like passion, because like you kind of did it yourself, but some artists that you like.
Yeah, I would say a lot of artists definitely pushed me for sure.
Right.
I would say as far as like older guys, my mom and stuff, like I grew up like listening, like as far as rap, Tupac and Busta Rhymes and like old guys like that. As far as me, I always grew up liking Lil Wayne, was obviously one of my favorites. Jay-Z, you know what I mean? Like sometimes would really be rocking with Jay-Z. I would say mostly probably Lil Wayne. I was a huge Lil Wayne fan. Huge Lil Wayne fan. And then of course I was younger, like right when Drake like first like really started. So I've always been a fan of Drake, just because, I've seen his whole career from start to where it is now, and it's like I gotta be a fan.
Yeah, that's kind of like who I grew up on too, like Lil Wayne, Drake, and all that. Like, I mean, I was obviously younger, but like still, like it's cool to see like those people like where they started and like where they're at now, like how even like the little people like where they've been and things like that. I think that's the coolest part about the music industry.
Most definitely.
I know it's hard to get into. So like kind of going along those lines, what have been like kind of like the like biggest hardships you've had to push through like throughout your career, and like how have you been able to like circum that?
I would say with DJing, you have to be prepared for something wrong to happen. And you got to be able to work in a pinch. And if you're not ready for that, then it's going to be tough for you just as a DJ. I mean, there's been so many places I've went to that something goes wrong, and I gotta make it go right. So you just have to adapt and adjust for sure when it comes to DJing, because essentially now you're relying on all electronics. So, you know, if you go up there, you could be ready, but if your laptop says, hey man, I don't want to work today.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to connect to this, then you're going to have to figure out a way to make it happen. So I would say that would probably be my biggest hardships. There's a lot of things that happen as far as DJing. I'm also like a promoter as well.
Yep.
Throwing parties and shows, and not every party and show is good. It might look good, but as far as the return with the money, you know, might not be as well as you thought it would be. But you can't get discouraged, because you're not going to make, you know, the big payouts on everything you do. You just have to stay with it and stay focused and stay motivated. And, you know, if anything bad happens or anything wrong happens, you just have to fight through it. If you really love it and you really want to do it, you just have to keep going, through all the bad times. Just keep going.
Yeah. So like, now that you say that, you know, like if something's not working, you got to kind of think of stuff on the spot. Can you think of like a situation in particular that you were, you know, not that you couldn't get past, but something that just always sticks in your head, that like something like went wrong?
Listen,
like,
every time something happens. Listen, we just got back from Texas. We did So What Festival.
Yep. I saw that. Yep.
One thing about Skies likes doing things in the nick of time. So we were like barely ready for the stage for our performance. We got there in the nick of time. And when I get up there, I try to connect everything, and like my laptop did not want to connect. It acted like it had never seen this DJ controller
like
before.
You said, yeah.
And I had used that before, so I know that it should have just connected nice and easy. Didn't want to. There's obviously no Wi-Fi out there. There's tens of thousands of people. So it's like you can't really download a driver out there. So just had to make it happen. I had a couple flash drives. And it's just simple as just moving some stuff around. But yeah, I went up there and I'm in front of all these people and they're ready to hear some music. And it's like, you got to make things happen in a fly. Just like I said, just this past weekend doing a festival, something didn't happen, but I had to make it right. Even afterwards, the guy was like, man, I appreciate you being chill, because a lot of people come up here and they're expecting things to just work seamlessly. And it doesn't work like that. There's a bunch of artists within a day. There's a bunch of DJs connected to these things. And, you know what I mean? Like I said, we're working on all electronics. So you got to work to their mercy. So like I said, it just all comes back to making it happen and righting the wrongs. However you got to do it. If it's wrong, you're going to have to make it right. The sound belongs to you as a DJ. So just got to make it happen.
Right. So there's no one particular thing. It's just like, it's always happening. You know what I mean? Like nothing's perfect. It's just always, not that there's always a problem, but like you're always going to come across a problem. Yeah. So like every time it happens, how are you going to like get past it? And like you're a professional, you've done it. And, you know, I can remember the first Sky show I went to, it was in 2019. I think I told you, it was in Boston, the House of Blues. Yeah. And I got there like mad early. I mean, like I told you, this guy's is like my favorite DJ. I've been following ever since, you know, popped off and things. And I Like Girls came on, and I was right in the front, and he's rapping like the end of his verse, and he's staring me down, and he daps me up, man. I got it on video, and I'm going crazy. I'm like, oh my God. And like, I remember, because this was probably the same time that you added me back on Snapchat. So I seeing you in person for the first time, like it was such a surreal moment. So like,
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, no, for like, going along like that, like, have you ever had any like fan interactions, like, you know, fans have seen you, and like it's kind of been like a surreal moment for you to like notice people noticing you and like the hard work that you've done and seeing how it's paid off?
Yeah, like, I mean, there be like when I go to shows, no matter where we at, it's funny because you'll hear, it's not like the whole crowd is screaming it, but you'll hear people just shouting out, Rello, yo, Rello, hey, yo, Rello. And it's just like, word, like I ain't from here,
right?
You know what I mean? There's people here that know me, and it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling to have people and like allies in different cities and different towns, because it's a good feeling. It's like now me and you, we connected, and it's like now it's like, hey man, when I come to your city, when I come to your state, I'm going to hit you up because now I know you and I know you're going to steer me in the right direction. So it's just cool to experience that type of thing and make connections with people in different cities, states, and countries and stuff like that.
No doubt. And I can relate to that too, because like now that my podcast is not like popping off, but it's getting up there. It's starting to slowly creep up. Someone like I mentioned earlier, Tim Sinclair, like the Bulls public address announcer, like something I want to get into, and that wants to be like that's what I want my profession to be. He reached out to me over email, and I'm like, oh my god, like he actually wants to do like the show, and like even you, like giving me like all this, like just to have the time and come out. Like I said earlier, I couldn't appreciate it enough, man. So,
for sure,
yeah. So going along back, yeah, dude. No, it's I don't even know how to describe it, man. It's like a feeling I can't even put into words, but going back to like tours and things like that, and early on in your career, maybe even like most recently too, like what was one of like the first like big breaks that you experienced where you were like, all right, this is going to be like my profession, like for the rest of my career?
I would say my first big break probably I would say was we were going on tour with Wiz Khalifa, and I was like, okay, yeah. You know what I mean? Like Wiz Khalifa is somebody I've listened to all you know, ever since he started essentially. And I've always been a fan. So I was like, man, I'm going on tour with this dude. I'm telling people I worked with at the time, they're like, what? Like, this is crazy. And I'm thinking like, okay, yeah, let me keep taking this serious and I could make a career off of it. So I was like, man, you know what? I'm just going to not be working my job, which I was a cook at the time, a chef. And I was stopped doing that and was like, I'm taking this DJ thing and taking it and running with it. And I'm doing it for real because before I treated it like a hobby, I treated it like a side job. And once I went on tour with Wiz, it showed me, okay, I can stop working my 9 to 5 and I can make this my 9 to 5, which essentially is a 24/7 because it never stops now. You know what I'm saying? Never clock out once you're an entrepreneur.
But it doesn't feel like work. It's like you love it. You know what I mean? Like I can relate to that same exact thing. Like people always ask me, oh, you know, what's, you know, sportscasters and PA guys, like they don't make a lot of money to start off. Like what's plan B? And I'm like, plan B. Like I don't have a plan B. Like this is what I'm pursuing and this is what I'm gonna chase for the rest of my life and, you know, see where, and it's not about the destination, it's about the journey and all that stuff. I always tell people, I know it sounds corny, but that's something that I like live up to, you know, and talking with you now for a little bit, like I can tell like that's always been your goals and like the way you go through things. So that's awesome to hear. Talking about Lil Skies a little bit more, like when was the first time you interacted with him? Like have you known him like your whole life? Like was this somebody like you grew up with, or like how did that connection start?
I know Skies because of I worked in a bar like club around here. And at the time his mom worked there and she was like a bartender. She kind of like ran the joint for real. But I started DJing in there and she was just like, yo, you're cool, you're chill. I would just come in, play my music, wouldn't drink. I would just be like, see y'all later, I'm out of here. And she just she liked that about me. She was at the time I also was doing parties for like high school, the kids is still in high school. And she had told him like, hey, maybe you should go and you should say what's up to him. Came to one of the shows and the rest is history. But he was probably just turned about, I think he just turned 15. So he just turned 15. He's like 22 now. 22. Yeah. And so I've probably known him for like 7-8 years now.
Yeah. So 7-8 years. I'm not good at math, but like how old, like were you like, how old were you at the time?
I don't even know. Probably, I don't even know. That's a good question. Damn, I never even thought about that. Honestly, I'm older than Skies, so Skies he's still a young guy. But Skies, like I said, I've known Skies for probably about 8 years or so now. At least personally. I think I knew him before, like just in passing. Because a lot of his people that he know and his family knew my family and his friends knew my friends type of deal. I just never really ran into him till then.
Right. So like not even like I know because you've helped your career, like you've done the work like yourself and you've grinded to where you are now. Not so much how much has he like helped your career, but like in the sense of like making, you know, inspiring you maybe in a way, like how much has he like been a help like to your career, I guess?
He's definitely been a huge help. Just being around him.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a help. You know what I mean? Then everything else is really up to me.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta take, anything that he gives, any place we go. Like, just for instance, like I said, we just got back from Texas, and it's like I met people there. I've gave merch to some people there, pictures. You know what I mean? I made a lot of connections just from being beside him. Yeah. So I would say that would be the biggest thing he has helped me with. And it's just like when you get those chances with, people that have more of a buzz that might be a bigger name than you and things like that, you have to take advantage of it in like a good way and just make sure you take advantage of every situation, every opportunity that's put in front of you. And I try to do that when it comes to Skies. He's like that, you know what I mean, that card that gets me around people that might not have personally got myself around just yet.
Right. And like I could agree with you 100%. Like connections are like huge. Like the more people you know, the more people they can connect you with and like open up more doors for yourself. Like, and like you said, that's all about you have to be that. You have to be consistent. You have to be persistent and do that, like you said. And I know like you've never had not that you haven't had hardships, but you haven't had a hard time grinding because you're always grinding, like you said earlier. So going along those lines, like going on like one of your first tours, like you said earlier with Wiz Khalifa and things like that, opening more opportunities for more tours and stuff. What has that been experienced like, just traveling the world, just doing what you love and making money off of it too?
It's a pretty crazy feeling. I used to watch people do this type of thing. Yeah. And then for me to do it, it's a great feeling. And it's something that once you start doing it, it's like I don't see myself doing anything else.
Exactly.
I'm going to do this until I can't do it or until I come up with something that's going to make me more money, or I just grow to the point I can't really do it anymore. But man, being able to travel around the world and DJ, it's crazy because we'll get to go overseas, and it's like the feeling. It's like you get to see people in America react to songs, and then you get to see people all the way across the water, all the way across the world react the same way to the same songs. And it's like, wow, this, like, you really can blow up crazy from a song. Yeah. And really have people that don't even speak your language, right, reciting your lyrics, saying they might not even be able to say it that well, but they're saying it.
Most definitely.
So it's pretty surreal. And on top of that, just being able to go to be able to go and get paid, it's a pretty good feeling for sure, man. It's definitely something to work towards if you were a young artist and you're a young DJ, young entrepreneur. Being able to travel the world and be able to do things in different cities and stuff like that.
And even though like I'm not on like that music path, like somebody like you still inspires me to see like you said, the things that you've accomplished, the tours, and like just the people out of the country that know the songs you produce, some of the lyrics that maybe you've helped in. Like I'm 20 years old and I'm just like, not that I'm just starting this. I started maybe like a year and a half ago. Not a year and a half, about like 6 months ago, about like just the podcast. But right. I've been broadcasting games at my school, and like now I'm transferring school to like a D1 school here in Rhode Island. And people like that, like I'll go to like visit my friends who go like out of state. And like people watch the pod, like they're like, oh, Cam's Corner, like they see me, from a little bit, like they notice me, and not that it's like starstruck or anything like that, but it's like, wow, people like they appreciate it and they like the show. Yeah, so
it's a good feeling, man. Yeah. You gotta keep it up. That right there, that's the thing that keeps me going, even with my podcast, man. It's like I see things and I see people that I have no ideas even watching it, and they'll mention it and they'll be like, hey man, podcast was good. And I'm like, wow, this person's watching. I'm not even close to home. And this person is talking about it. So anytime somebody says some stuff like that, definitely use it as fuel and keep running with it. That means you're doing a good job. You know how it is, man. It's all about just keep going with it. The production, you know what I mean? Keep continuing to make your podcast look good, make it sound good. You've already done a good job with that. So just continue doing what you're doing and accepting those small victories. Man, I'm telling you, it's Cam's Corner. I'm be glad to be on. They're gonna be coming back watching our video. It's gonna go crazy.
That's what I'm saying, man. I couldn't thank you more, and that's kind of like perfect segue to my next question. I wanted to ask you about your podcast, about your connected brand. First about the brand, I guess, because that's kind of like how you came up with the podcast. But where does the name like Connected Sound? Where does that come from, and what does it mean to you?
Just I would say a lot of my close friends growing up, a bunch of family members, we all just used to go by the term just like we were just connected. In any way, shape, or form, we were connected. And I would say it started from that. It's really just me as far as carrying the Connected Sound name now. They all still support it. But they've all, dived into different endeavors in life. I'm really the only one that's like really fully entrenched with the music. So then from Connected, just us, like just kind of saying that moniker, I kind of started Connected Sound. And I wanted to start that because I wanted people to know that I'm here to help. I'm here to help someone reach their goals. And connections are going to help you do that. And that's one thing that I've become pretty good at, especially recently, is making connections with people, helping people that are going to essentially help me get to where I need to do, where I need to be or what I need to do. So I would say it started from that. And just like I said, I'm making connections within the industry and within the music industry is my biggest thing. So started Connected Sound with that. Now I'm just in the process of, instead of it just being me carrying it, I'm trying to build a team of guys and a collective group of guys, producers, engineers, artists, that can help me carry the Connected Sound name as well.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And I know I sent you over my boyfriend back home, Day Boy. Shout out to Daryl. I'll send you his stuff.
Yeah.
Because I told him to come on the stream and stuff like that, so you can see what you're all about.
Definitely,
like that.
Definitely hop on the stream. I do the stream every Thursday, either at 7 or 8 p.m. And it's no charge. Just hop in the chat, say, hey man, I play this song, and I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna play it, and we're gonna see what everybody else in the chat thinks of it.
That's awesome. I hope he's watching. I'll let him know for sure. Back in like the 2000s, like podcasts and stuff like that were kind of like just maybe like starting up and things like that. Was there anything like what you're doing now back then that you were like that kind of helped you? So like, how you're outletting these artists and you're helping them. Was there something like that for you back then when you were first starting?
Growing up, I wouldn't say. I probably just started getting into podcasts honestly since the pandemic. I really there was only one podcast I listened to, and that was Locked On Cowboys. That was it. I only listened to Locked On Cowboys. That's a podcast about the Dallas Cowboys. That's the only one I listened to, really. At least I've been listening to that for a couple years now. So I haven't really been on the podcast wave very long, as far as listening to them or doing them. I really started doing the podcast because I was not a good speaker. I was not good with communication with people. And when you're an entrepreneur and you're running a business yourself, you got to be good with communication. And having a podcast has helped me communicate better with people because I don't want to put out a terrible podcast. So I have to do my research on other podcasts that are similar to mine and try to, make it happen like that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Cause that's probably like another reason why you started everything up and you're giving back is because you didn't have that when you were on the come up. So it's like to give back to something that you didn't have. It's just more of a motivation for you, like throughout your career. And I can go back to like my first podcast with the assistant coach of the Celtics, Joe Mazzulla. His dad was my coach. I mentioned him in all my episodes. His dad was my coach throughout all my whole playing career. And he passed away about 2 years now. It's been from a brain tumor. So to see where Joe's at, right, and like for him to be my first guest, my heart's beating like the whole time. I'm not as loose as I am now, and I'm not as I wouldn't say like my public speaking skills weren't great. I was just like so nervous because I never met him in person. Yeah. And then over this year, like so many opportunities have came. I got to meet him in person, sit front row with him at a Providence College Friars game. It's just, like we mentioned earlier, it's all about the connections and who you can connect with just to make your career go
Where are you going? Where are you transferring to? What school are you going to?
I'm going to the University of Rhode Island.
Nice. I'll tell you a funny story. Listen, I used to play college basketball in the video game a lot. And in college basketball, I'm actually a Duke fan. Okay. But on the game, I would never play with Duke because I would be like, this ain't no fun. So I would always pick a school. And my favorite colors were black and gray, which you could see. I have a bunch black, gray, and white. And guess whose colors those were? Those were Providence.
PC, yeah.
So I would always pick Providence to like be my school that I like played with and like built up, and just so I can beat Duke and be the best team.
That's
I always pick Providence, man. I love Providence. You know what I'm saying? Love building them up.
Going along with Providence, like I'm not sure if you followed them a little bit, but they made a Sweet 16 run this year. And they had a transfer, Al Durham. He went to Indiana for 4 years, right? His 5th year graduate year was this year. And like, he was my favorite. This year, he's my favorite player. I'm dying to get him on the podcast. Like, that would be perfect, right? So, you know, some of these people at Hollywood, they do this, they do that. But he finally got back to me. And because I always repost him, I always show him support. And he didn't say anything about the podcast for a little bit. So I reached back out. And then he's answering me like right away. And I'm like, wow, he actually wants to do this. And I asked him, are you going to be in the Rhode Island area? I want to do something in person because I don't really have the opportunity to do a lot of things in person because these people are like, you know, like you're in PA and things like that. So he was like, yeah, if I'm in the RA area, I'll let you know, because I want to do like an in-person thing down at the rec center, like right down the street from my house, and like do like an in-person thing like that. I feel like that'd be a cool approach to bring to one, YouTube, and two, obviously to the podcast.
That would be fire, man. That'd be fire. Yeah, that's how you get the ball rolling for sure.
So yeah, like I said, we'll wrap it up with some NBA talk. So who is your favorite team like growing up?
My favorite NBA team is the Portland Trailblazers, believe it or not.
Okay.
Portland Trailblazers, man. I've been a Portland fan all my life. It started just because I was a young boy and we played summer camp, and we had to pick, our team had to be NBA names, and I picked the Blazers and we ended up winning. So I was like, I guess I'm gonna follow this team. Blazers are my favorite team. Like I said, I'm a Duke fan, so I cheer for all Duke players, except for probably Grayson Allen.
Understandable.
But I cheer for all the Duke guys, man. I cheer for all the Duke guys. So, I mean, I'm not a Celtics fan, but I'm definitely rooting for Jason Tatum. At least if he doesn't win it, I would definitely hope that he has a great series.
Yeah, and I'm close to the Boston area. I don't know if I told you, I'm the 98.5 The Sports Hub is a radio station, one of New England's like well-known radio stations. I'm working there right now for my summer internship. So for the first year that I'm doing an internship with my like profession or whatever throughout college is like evidently the year that the Celtics are in the NBA Finals, which is like so cool to be a part of. And everyone obviously in the area, Celtics in 6. I don't think the series goes to 6 with Golden State. If anything, it's in 7. And I really don't know who's going to win that, because with, you know, what happened with last series and the dogfights that the Celtics have been in, it's just, you know, I don't know.
They're hardened now.
Yeah.
They're hardened, man. They beat a lot of good teams. They beat a lot of good players. And it's like, you might not think that they're going to do it, but it's like, man, they beat a lot of good people. So they're hardened, and it seemed like they're not scared at all. They're playing good defense. They're playing really good defense right now. Really good defense.
Yeah. So you obviously watched Game 7 if you were around. Like, I want to hear your thoughts on Jimmy Butler's his final shot with about 18 seconds left in the fourth. It's a 3-on-3.
Oh man, I thought I understood it. It's you know what I mean, a lot of people probably thought it was a bad shot, but he did not sit down at all. He played the whole game, and he's probably thinking, "There's no way I'm lasting the overtime. There's no way I'm lasting overtime. I got to shoot this to try to win it, because if we go to overtime, he probably thinking I'm personally not going to last." He looked tired. I mean, he didn't take a break at all. He played the whole game, so I can understand it. I mean, as hindsight is always 20/20, so it's probably like, man, he shot that and he missed it. But if he made it and he was dead tired and they won the game, then he was the hero. So it's just something you kind of got to live with. If you play a guy the whole game and, you know what I mean, he misses the last shot, he has a great game, it's like, you know, how can you really get upset with him?
Me, like, looking at it, like, obviously I'm always like analytics and stuff like that. Like, Marcus Smart is won the Defensive Player of the Year award, right? He let Jimmy Butler throughout those last 2 games score 82 points, like combined. So it's like, 1, we're smart. 2, like there's so much time left on that clock, right? So even if he does hit the shot, Boston's going to call timeout. It's probably going to be 17 seconds left. Or if he goes and takes it on Al, they're still down 2. So regardless, like even in that situation, the Celtics come down, they hit 2 free throws, and it's 100-96. It's like it's just I think who was it? Colin Cowherd from the Herd. Like he was saying, like it's just a tough situation. Like the Celtics finally were able to close out a game. They're not known for closing out games when they're up the entire game. So if they can do that against Golden State, you know, they're gonna make it a series, and that's, you know, what everyone's alluding to now. So
yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. I definitely think it's gonna be fun. I'm excited to see how the first game goes. You know, if the Celtics have played well on the road. So, you know, they might, if they can get one out there in Golden State, you never know what's going to happen, man.
Yeah, that's exactly how I said. They had trouble winning in the Garden. Like the only game that they won at home besides the Brooklyn sweep was Game 7 against Milwaukee. And then going with the Heat was, I don't think they won a game at home in that series. They might have won one. Well, it had to be, because it was Game 7. But they just had a hard time winning in the Garden. So if they can do that against Golden State, they got a solid shot. Which is crazy.
For sure, most definitely.
Yeah, so I mean, we're coming down the last 2 minutes now. I know it sucks with the time lapse and everything, but I always ask all my guests at the end of the show, Rello, what did you think of Cam's Corner, and who might somebody you want to see next coming alongside me to join?
Hey, Cam's Corner. Like I said, I'm a fan. I'm tuned in. I'm locked in. I would say on Cam's Corner, we need let's see. We need somebody. We need the head coach of the Friars, man.
Ed Cooley.
That's what I would see.
Yeah, I've been trying, man. I've got a couple people that know him, so definitely in the offseason would be the best time to reach him for sure.
That's got to happen.
No, yeah, definitely. I'm going to try to keep making these connections, like I said, but one thing I want you to do, though, I want you to pass this through the skies. I want him to see this because this is, like I said, like almost like a dream come true to me to be able to sit down and talk with you, like the man behind everything, and you know, that kind of closes everything.
I got you.
Yeah. So yeah, any closing remarks before we cap it off?
Subscribe and tune in to Cam's Corner and Connect the Sound Podcast. It'll do you good for sure.
For sure, man. Thank you so much.
My brother, appreciate you.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you.
I don't know about you, I'm getting my money, that's show. I'ma do this for the bros that's all locked up down the road. You claim you're real, you got in that room, you told.